welcome to this week's edition of Growing Up 80s and Groomed in the 90s. Very special episode today, coming up September the 8th in Minneapolis. X-Files fans from all over the world are going to descend upon the Mall of America for PhileFest to celebrate 30 years of our favorite show. We've got the staff from PhileFest, Kristin Trevor and Trevor Nelson. So grateful for all of you joining us here today. We have a lot coming up. Larry Musser, Pat Skipper, Carly and Lauren from Punk Rock Productions that have done this amazing documentary. Beth and Jones coming up and much more. Over the course of the next 2 hours, we'll be giving away a prize pack that Kristin had put together, and we will lay out what the rules are. Kristin, why don't you share with our listeners, how can they be part of PhileFest in this great contest?
So if they're looking to purchase tickets, they can go to filefest.com, and they can also find us on all the social media platforms under PhileFest. And we want to give away on your show 2 general admission tickets, and we have a question we'd like everyone to answer to enter to win that. And our question is, what 3 shows and or movies is the X-Files based off of? So you need to follow our social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Those are the 3 main ones we're on.
Okay.
PhileFest MSP is how you can find us on social media.
There's going to be some great gaming going on at PhileFest. The X-Files card game from back in the 90s. Kristin, is that correct? Do people
That is correct. They're running a full tournament, and some of the original players from the original testing of the game are going to be there. They're going to do a demo on Saturday and then run a full tournament on Sunday.
Fantastic. I'm a 90s kid, like most of you that watch the X-Files. And I played Magic the Gathering. Of all the card games that were popular around this time, this is my favorite. It's very challenging. I want to play you. This is a wonderful game. What can fans expect from PhileFest?
You can expect 3 days of nothing but the X-Files. We have a huge guest list. Chris Carter, the creator of the show, Darren and Glenn Morgan, 2 of the writers and producers of the shows, and Pat Skipper, who you mentioned, and Larry Musser, among many other guests. The Enigma is going to be doing his sideshow routine. Dean Hagman's doing a comedy night. It's going to be a lot of fun and just celebrate the show we all love. We actually started planning pre-COVID, and COVID shut our plans down, but the benefit, we get to have the event now on the 30th anniversary is really special and better than we could have ever hoped for. Mike and his team are great, and they are so excited. They host a lot of tournaments on their YouTube channel, and they're going to demo it. Dean Haglin's going to be there. He was one of the original testers of the game.
Right. Trevor, what is the thing you were looking forward to the most to finally get this up and running?
Kristin and I are the ones who came up with the idea. Right. The very first thing I wanted, it's very selfish, I want to meet Deep Throat. That was the first name I threw on the table. He's 93, so not necessarily in his day-to-day wheelhouse anymore, but he agreed to do it. We have other people. It is their con debut. What was supposed to be 8 or 10 guests ballooned to over 2 dozen. This is the biggest X-Files lineup possibly ever.
Let's give him a nice welcome. Larry, what role you played in this great universe we call the X-Files?
I would say the most famous one is Detective Manners, the bleeding detective. Number 2 is Stephen King, Police Chief Bonsant. And 3 would be the paramilitary guy, for sure.
Larry is the first name that Kristin threw out when we started talking about this.
It is, yes.
Like, and that is the honest truth. And B, Larry is the first person who actually accepted our invitation. And so, like, what a great way to start it off.
Well, you guys don't have to go anywhere. Like, you guys can stay right where you are. So they're just going to move me on to him. But I'll tell you this right now, that was actually going to be my my final question for now. Was that I was going to say was, what was when you said you started doing this and you started feeling some momentum, and then the momentum started snowballing? What was the moment that you felt like got you over that hump? Was it Larry?
Larry made it start becoming real for me. I will say that, like, oh, we're doing this and we can do it. That was that moment for me.
Yes.
Well,
the momentum, the momentum, like Larry was the first, and being able to tell other people, hey, Larry's on board. That did get the ball rolling for sure. But when it really hit the tipping point was when we found out, like, Chris Carter knows about this and he's interested.
Yeah.
And as soon as Chris was like, okay, I'm on board, then the dominoes just took off on their own.
You see, Larry, you legitimize their convention. There is no PhileFest without Larry Musser.
Listen, that's a huge honor. And if I was the spark that led to anything else, I'm proud and happy to be that.
When you think about your time on set at the X-Files, what is literally the first thing that you think of?
The very first time I was on an X-Files set, pounding rain, dark, a long way to drive up the mountainside in Vancouver to the Seymour Mountain area. And I have to say that I was thinking, you know what, this is a really exciting chance for me to be on this show finally, because I've been watching it and loved it. And now it rains like this. I hope this doesn't like really mess me up, or ruin the scene or make it too hard to work. All that was going through my head. It was that stormy night, dark. X-Files loves that. I can go from sharing that giant lobster with Gillian Anderson to batting rocks with David Duchovny in between shots of Jose Chung while they're setting up in the mountainside there. And I found a good stick with really good handle, and I batted one off the side of the hill across the valley. And he said, well, hey, that's pretty good. Now watch this. And he cranged one. We had a rock batting competition. So that's, and Jillian joined in and she had a pretty good swing.
When was the last time you saw either?
I would have seen Jillian at the big party when they left Vancouver.
Okay.
It was a really great shindig at the planetarium in Vancouver.
Chris Carter is also a part of PhileFest.
I haven't seen him since then.
At 98, the film came out between seasons 5 and 6.
Right. Okay.
Well, see, that would be the last time I saw either of them. In Chicago in 2019, I saw just about everybody else.
There is a very unique love for this show over the years when you've met fans. What do they tell you?
In Chicago, people would come up and tell me what I said on various shows. Amazing that it's 30 years already. But it seems to have revived for me anyway in the last 10 again. Like there was a gap where I didn't have much to do with it. And now there's all this stuff going on again.
What's the thing you're looking forward to the most?
Meeting all of you in person and reuniting with some of the people that I met in Chicago and not getting out there and doing it all over again because I loved it the last time.
What is your favorite piece of dialogue that you ever said on the X-Files? And I'll ask all of you as well after Larry says his, okay?
I'd have to divide those into categories. Denny Markham says all kind of dark. The fun thing I said I'll always remember is, yeah, that's a dead alien bleeping body if I ever bleeping saw one. That still plays in my head. It was a nutty thing to say.
Bethan, how about you?
Anything from Jose Chung's. I love that episode.
How can Jose Chung's not jump out?
Joining us now is the girls from Punk Rocks Productions. Lauren Gradinger.
Thanks, Larry.
Carly Blake.
Thanks for having me. Nice.
I'm also a documentary filmmaker. I know what that takes. What is coming down the pike, this thing you guys have done with the X-Files?
Sure, I'll start and then I'll pass it to Carly. For nearly 5 years, but we've been working on collecting stories not only from fans worldwide, but about 100 cast and crew about the X-Files. And it was really important to us to hear the stories that we haven't seen on the DVD extras, hear the memories that we have not seen at Comic-Con panels. And what started as a really interesting idea kind of came to a grinding halt with COVID. So we did what all X-Files fans would do. We did not give up, and we kind of had to shift our direction to Skype and Zoom, and we were at the mercy of everyone's internet connection, but we kept the project going. And here we are, we're editing, we're doing our final tweaks before we do a fan screening at PhileFest in Minneapolis in September. So we are thrilled to be part of the amazing list of guests that they have set up for us.
Outstanding. Carly?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just gonna go off of what Lauren was saying, and I mean, it just is really an opportunity to create something by the fans for the fans. I mean, and I think that's where FileFest comes from. I mean, and a lot of these other projects, you know, Lauren and I have been fans since we were 9, 10 years old, and this is our opportunity to thank the people that made the show happen. Everyone from PAs to executive producers to talent. And everybody's just been so gracious with their time and their experiences, and the stories we've gotten are incredible. And I like that Lauren stole a quote from something we were listening to today while we were editing. So it's just been a cool experience, and just meeting these people that we were so obsessed with growing up. Now we're getting to honor them.
And at the 30 years, it's really special. Do you think that your vision is even further realized versus if it was released back in 2020?
Sure. I mean, more opportunity to reach out to more cast and crew, and to our delight, we've been interviewing people up until the strike, really. So we've had the opportunity to meet with more people, hear more memories, and just preserve that history behind the beloved show.
What was the most difficult of the interviews that to get?
We thought getting Chris Carter was going to be very difficult, but he was so receptive to us once we made the connection.
Larry, who's joining us right now, was one of our initial interviews. He was very gracious with his time, and we were excited to speak to him as a fan favorite and a multiple guest star.
The premiere of the film is going to happen at FileFest?
At File, we're doing a fan screening. So we're hoping to hear feedback that'll shape the proper premiere.
What was the best in-person experience?
I know what Carly is going to say. Pre-pandemic, we landed an interview with Rhys Darby, and I'm a big Flight of the Conchords fan, and he was in the X-Files revival, and he was so funny, and we just couldn't wait to interview him. So we packed up all of our gear and jumped on the bus and went into New York City, and he spoke with us in between shooting a project he was in town for.
It was right before the world shut down. We had a full-on production set up, and it was beautifully shot, and he gave us so much time, and we figured we actually can pull this off and bring a bigger project to the world. I have about 15 years experience in the industry. I worked on Star and West Wing and Third Watch and Monk. I have 2 Emmys working for Major League Baseball. So my year's experience allowed us to really dive in.
We met in high school. The only thing I knew about Carly was she liked the X-Files. The only exchanges when we were teenagers was, hey, did you watch last night? Yeah, me too. Yeah, it was awesome. All right, see you later. And that was that. And then about 5 years ago, we went to an X-Files related event in New York City. People were really eager to open up and share, and that's actually how the project came to be.
And it got bigger and bigger to the point early 2020, we had 30 people already. And in the last 3 years, we've had over 100 people.
Was there somebody you would never have gotten unless it was through the Zoom?
Some of the fans we've spoken to across the sea.
Yeah.
We'd hear from women in Europe who are now doctors because of Agent Dana Scully.
Where can they find more about the film?
All of our socials are at thexfiles25.com. And Punk Rock Productions is Carly's production company.
Our next guest, staying up late from across the pond, Bethan Jones. How the hell are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Talk to me about what role that you play in this great blogosphere thing we call the X-Files.
My background is in fan studies, and I've written about the X-Files fandom, partly because I'm also in the X-Files fandom. I'm going to be at PhileFest as a fan because we never had X-Files conventions in the UK. It's also where I'm launching my book. I've written about the X-Files, which is going to be out in September.
What is the perspective of the book?
The book is called The Truth Is Still Out There, 30 Years of the X-Files.
That's a wonderful title.
Thank you. I'm talking about the cultural changes that have happened over the last 30 years, the changes in fandoms. In one of my chapters, I talk about PhileFest and Lauren and Carly's documentary, looking at the show the last 30 years, why it's still relevant and why it still matters to people. And I'm also doing a panel at PhileFest. I've spoke to the publishers today, and the print copies exist in the real world.
Well, this is exciting. It's tangible. You can hold it in your hands now.
Yeah.
Welcome to the program, the man of the hour, Pat Skipper. I know you recognize this gentleman.
We've hooked up over Zoom before through a couple of fan conferences and stuff. It was a lot of fun.
When you think about your time on the X-Files, there's got to be one that you think about the most.
I had, for the most part, a wonderful experience on the X-Files. The last day I was there filming, my father died. There was a funeral scene in that episode. It was a very long day, but everybody was exceptionally kind to me. Carrie Turner, who played my wife on the show, took me out and got me rip-roaring drunk afterwards. The thing that jumps to mind in terms of shooting the episodes, that scene I shot with David where I call him a son of a bitch. He was very open and kind to me that day. It's the kind of day you live for as an actor.
You're playing the lead character's brother. Did you ever feel any sort of pressure?
I didn't. I try to find the truth in the moments as they're handed to me. The writer doesn't always know where the truth in the scene is. It's our job to dig into our own personal feelings to create something truthful and beautiful. And I felt like I had a responsibility to the character that I played. I mean, my sister is involved with a person who I consider to be a dangerous individual. I consider Mulder to be a very dangerous individual. And I believe her association with him has been a detriment to her life. Our sister was killed. And I don't have any fond feelings for him, certainly, after all of that. That's the truth that I get to live in during the show. Some people didn't respond positively to that.
What was the last time you saw Chris?
On set. It was the last time I saw anybody. This will be my first chance to see Sheila again. She and I were very close, and I get a chance to see my dear old mom again. That'll be nice.
And how many seasons did you work on the show, Pat?
I think it was only 4 and 5.
And Larry, what seasons were you on?
2, 3, 4, and 5.
We've never seen Larry and Pat in the same room. Tickets are available. Go to filefest.com. I will see each and every single one of you. Thanks again to all of our guests. I can't wait to meet all of you in person from all of America, September the 8th to the 10th at PhileFest. Thanks to all of my guests today. It's been my absolute pleasure seeing all of you today. I'll see you all very soon.
See you soon.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.